Coverage by going straight out live to Great Mills High School, where our Bruce Johnson is at the scene to bring us up to speed on what's developed there today. Hi, Bruce.
Hey, Adam, how you doing? Back here behind me at the start of the school day, there were some 1,600 students inside Great Mills Senior High School in Southern Maryland. It's about 90 minutes outside of D.C. School is empty right now, except for the police investigators in there, because it's now a major crime scene. Now, here's what we know thus far. 17-year-old Austin Wyatt Rollins, according to investigators, fired a shot at a 16-year-old female student here this morning. Police say the two did have some kind of relationship. She was struck, seriously wounded. We're going to have more on that in a minute. A 14-year-old was also hit. Fortunately for the students here, there was a school resource officer identified as Blaine Gaskell. He's a deputy St. Mary County Sheriff. He was able to get a shot off. He fired a shot, hit the gunman, who later died at the hospital. Now, Scott Broom has been following the nuts and bolts of this case. He's nearby, and he's going to give us a lot more right now. Scott?
Bruce, you've just described a day of tragedy and terror and even heroism when you think of that school resource officer here at Great Mills High School. 7:45 this morning in Hallway F. Sheriff Tim Cameron said the motive for why this young shooter would have targeted this 16-year-old girl is unknown, but he says they were not strangers to each other.
There is an indication that a prior relationship existed between the shooter and the female victim. We are working as we speak to determine if that was, and if so, the extent of that, and if it was part of the motive for this shooting.
Sheriff Cameron said the school resource officer who put an end to it at 7:45 in the morning, Deputy Sheriff Blaine Gaskell, tactically trained, responded in less than a minute armed with a handgun.
DFC Blaine Gaskell fired at the shooter, and what is described to me as almost simultaneously the shooter fired.
17-year-old shooter Austin Wyatt Rollins was armed with a Glock semi-auto handgun. He died at a hospital 2 hours later. The 16-year-old girl he attacked was in critical condition. A 14-year-old boy with gunshot wounds was in good condition. After the shooting, a classroom lockdown, then at least 1,400 students and staff were evacuated to nearby Leonardtown High School to be reunited with parents.
We had several first-hand witnesses of the event. These were all children.
School Superintendent James Scott Smith.
It is an exceptionally tragic day. It's an incredibly important conversation. I ask that we all stay informed. If you don't think this can't happen at your school, you are sadly mistaken.
You know, this is what we train for, this is what we prepare for, and this is what we pray that we never have to do. And on this day, we realize our worst nightmare. You know, the notion of it can't happen here is no longer a notion.
Again, that was St. Mary's County Sheriff Tim Cameron. Superintendent Smith said Great Mills High School most certainly will be closed tomorrow and may stay closed for the rest of the week as he and others assess the trauma to the students and staff and how they begin to recover, and they'll make a decision later on when to reopen the school. Reporting live outside Great Mills, Scott Broom, WUSA 9. Bruce, back to you.